Hello, everybody. Thank you for jumping on here. Thank you so much for being a part of this adventure, this journey, this, I don't even know, this mission, I guess, to make this world a better place and to reach 8 billion people. And I don't want to do that so that I can be in front of 8 billion people and 8 billion people know my name. I want to do it so I can change and uplift, with everybody's help, 8 billion people. And I thank you. I love seeing everybody that is sharing this message and referring people to follow me, those sort of things. So really appreciate it. Oh, and today is Bow Tie Tuesday. Oh, it is Bow Tie Tuesday. Anyway, I wore a bow tie today. So that's not going to happen very often. So enjoy it while you can. Bow Tie Tuesday. So I wanted to today share something that isn't really, positive thinking like we usually go over, but I believe it enables us to be in a position to be able to make the world a better place and to be able to be in a position to deliver that positive stuff. There are some people that feel that money is, like, the focus on money is not a healthy thing to do. And I agree that if you're focused too much, that, the people that are really worried about money and focus on money and, maybe infatuated with money are the people that don't have it, right? Because they're always worried about bills and etc., right? So while we don't want to be focused on it all the time or let it control our thoughts all the time, I feel it's important to know that churches are built by donation. People are able to volunteer by donating their time, which in a lot of cases, they need to be able to pay their bills with money so that they can do that. And I know there's examples where that's not the case, but in majority of situations, we need money to be able to do good things, right? So this book this is the audio. If you have a chance, it's an older book. The 5 Lessons a Millionaire Taught Me by Richard Paul Evans. If you have a chance to read the actual book, I would suggest reading it. And also there's another version, the 5, but for women, especially for women. So I thought both of those are good. I bought the one for my wife and she really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed this one. And I enjoyed the things I read in the other one too. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about compound interest. Reason I wanted to talk about compound interest is twofold. Compound interest can either be your best friend or it can be your enemy. I don't know if you've ever heard the people ask, are you the master of your money or is your money the master of you? And compound interest is basically the key that makes the difference. Okay, so if your money's your master, right? Chances are it's compound interest running away so fast that you can't pay it, right? Whereas if you're the master of your money, chances are it's compound interest earning you money, or at least you're in control of that money, right? So there's a story told, and I won't go into it right now. Maybe I'll do it on another podcast. But there's a story told of how, I guess now that I started, I have to say it, don't I? Oh yeah, I'll give you the rundown. I'll give you the short version. Okay, there's a story told of how there was this fellow who lived in India, I believe it was, and his work was to take care of the elephants for the palace. And he loved his job. He was really good at his job. But one thing he loved more than his job is the princess. But he was not royalty, so he couldn't even talk to the princess. But the princess really liked coming and talking with him. She would come down and they would spend time together talking and have great conversations. And he had great stories, and it was just really good to talk to. He understood. He made her feel like a real person and not just like this princess, right? So he respected her as a person and as an individual, and her talents, her smarts, all those sort of things, because of who she was, not because of her position or her family. So over time, these two kind of ended up falling in love, but they knew that they could not marry. So they were trying to figure out what to do so that they could get together. And at the same time, the Raja, the king, was dealing with some issues around, around the kingdom, as kings tend to do. And one of the issues that really was weighing heavily on his heart was the elephant that his daughter, the princess, loved, got sick. And nobody could help this elephant. So the Raja goes to this elephant trainer, I guess, and says, we really need to help this elephant. My daughter's heartbroken. So the trainer goes and he helps, and he already actually was doing little bits here and there, but because he loved this girl, right? So he goes and he starts and he heals this elephant. The elephant's healed and back up. Everybody's happy, and the Raja is like, "Okay, I will give you up to half my kingdom because you saved this elephant, and it's so important to me." And the servant guy, we'll just call him the servant guy, said, "I'm not interested in your kingdom, but I would like to be paid 1 grain of rice doubled every day." And the Raja's like, "This dude is nuts, right? 1 grain of rice? Like, hello, you could have had anything." Yet you settled for 1 grain of rice doubled every day. So he gives him 1 grain of rice, and then 2 the next day, and then 4 the day after that, and 8 and 16 and 32 and 64 and so on, right? And then after a week or so, it's up to, I think the number's like 256 or 612 or somewhere around there. And the Raja is still kind of like, it's a little bit, but it's not much. This guy's missed out on such an opportunity. But then the number keeps on growing and growing and growing, and it gets into the tens of thousands, then into the hundreds of thousands. And the Raja starts getting a little bit like concerned that he's going to be able to, pay this, because it's getting into the millions then. And he sees that not only was this person able to help his daughter through healing the elephant, but was able to also had the smarts enough to be able to see the wisdom of compound interest, and ended up not only benefiting himself from that, but he saved it and actually ended up helping the kingdom in a drought when they didn't have the food. So the point of that story is compound interest is very strong, and we don't notice the change, or we don't notice the strength of it in the first little bit of it, right? So what happens quite often is somebody's like, okay, I'm going to start investing. They start investing for a couple of years, and they don't really see any growth. Their monthly input, their monthly deposits go in there, but they don't really see any, huge growth. And they start thinking, it's not growing. Or what's worse is they're like, I'm starting to get a little bit of a nest egg here. And then what happens? The car breaks down, or, they're like, you really deserve that new ring, or whatever the case, that new dress or whatever. And they take from their savings and they buy something. So they basically squash that power that was happening, right? The story is told of the golden goose. Farmer gets a goose that suddenly is laying golden eggs, and his newfound wealth, he was poor before, now he's rich, and he's loving life, but then he starts getting impatient and jealous. Or sorry, not impatient and, what's the word I'm looking for? Just not wanting to wait. Impatient, there's the word, impatient. And he then cuts open the goose, and there's no more golden eggs because he killed the golden goose, right? So don't kill your golden goose. Let your nest egg, even if it looks small, let it build. Make sure it's in a good investment, of course. S&P, I'm not going to say any numbers because I know we're worldwide here, but make sure you're in a good investment that is well spread out so it's stable, but invested enough that you're going to see some growth. So yeah, make sure you're going to have that growth and let it grow. Leave it alone. The smartest thing to do is to hook it up with whatever bank you're working with and have it come out automatically so that you don't even think about it. Okay. Most wealthy people will tell you that you need to be saving at least 10% of your income. Now, a lot of people are like, 10%, I can barely live on 100% of my income. How am I going to live on 90%? Right? Well, studies have shown that anywhere from 10 to 30% of people's income is unaccounted for. It just like they don't know what happened to it. So if you're already wasting 10 to 30,000 percent of your income, then why not invest it and have it come out automatically? Just take a payroll deduction, or what's smarter is if you get a raise, invest everything that's raised. You lived on what you were living on before, keep it there. And then let that extra money take care of debt, take care of planning for the future, right? When some people ask, should I pay off debt or pay off or invest? Or where's the balance there, right? And some people say pay off, well, I guess it depends. If we're talking credit card debt at like 29% interest, yeah, pay that off first, right? But if we're talking about longer term, like mortgages and stuff, paying 10% to your future and 10% to your debt on top of whatever debt servicing that you're already doing, do that. Okay, so 10% to debt, 10% to your future, and then 10% to, for me, 10% tithing. So it goes to my church, but give back somehow. 10% of your income should be giving back to society, 10% paying yourself first, and then 10% paying down debt. Once that debt is gone, then add it to paying for your future. So you're now doing 20%. So some numbers here. This is just going on the S&P 500 over the last 50 years of 10.2%. So if Mr. and Mrs. Average allocate 10 or 15 or 20% of their income at 10% after 40 years, excuse me, maybe the bow tie is too tight. After 40 years, 10%, they'll have 2.4 million. At 15%, they'll have 3.6 million. At 20%, 40 years, 4.8 million. So that compound interest can really help you. But what hurts and what makes it so people have a hard time doing that, yes, incomes and COVID and cost of living is all higher and stuff now. But we live in an era that it is okay and, in fact, encouraged, usually from media and stuff, to go into debt. Okay? I was just listening to a program yesterday, and they talked about how one of the contributing factors, I know there's more than this, but one of the major contributing factors to the Great Depression was because interest rates were at such a level, a lot of people were buying beyond their means. Businesses and such, they were buying beyond their means, and individuals as well. And then interest rate changed and things changed. Banks started clawing back, that sort of stuff, and people were left in desolate situations, right? So same thing today. People are trying to say, hey, just buy it now, pay for it later, right? But the freedom you feel is worth so much more. We had a certain amount of money budgeted to buy a new car. I needed a new car to get where I'm working. A Jeep. I needed something that was a little bit better for these roads. And we had allocated a certain amount of money, but we found something that met our needs and actually exceeded our needs a little bit, and was able to spend roughly about half of what I had spent. And the feeling to know that I own that car and that I have actually extra money to actually, spoiler alert, go to the Philippines in the spring. Shh, don't tell anybody. Nobody knows yet. Is so empowering, right? Just to know that small decision, because we were tempted for the nicer, newer, bigger, all those sort of things. But because we did what we did, we feel free, like just so much I guess, ability to choose. I guess that's where it lies. So compound interest, those sort of things can work against you as well. Um, oh, just quick, you know how I said that once your dad's paid for it, throw that on your future as well? If you take, yeah, so 1 year before it was 5,000 basically, double that's 10,000 obviously. Okay, so over 1 year you just basically get double. But as the years go on, because it's the snowball that's coming down the mountain is bigger, it's able to grow faster. Okay, so now what do we say? Oh, but Ben, I have no extra income. We live paycheck to paycheck as it is. And I believe you, lots of people do. Lots of people do. Even people that make good income are living paycheck to paycheck because as their income went up, what they do with their living expenses went up as well. And then something like COVID happens, limiting income, and price of 7% income, or 7 to 10% inflation here in Canada anyway. This last year, it's usually about 3. So things are getting more expensive. But what would have happened if, when those raises happened, if we kept our living expenses where they were? Then when these things start happening, we'd have that wiggle room. Okay. That's great, right? What if, right? And we can't do anything about that right now. But what we can control is what we do right now. So it's called winning in the margins in this book. Winning in the margins with extra income and winning in the margins with savings. The extra income is some ideas to make extra income. Okay, so here's some things that there's a whole list here, but I'm going to just throw out a couple. Turn your hobbies into jobs. Okay, learn to make jewelry and sell it at a local fair. Babysit, house sit, clean houses, pick up a paper route, repair cars, donate plasma, depending on where you live. Health, become a massage therapist. I don't know how that one really works, but that's one. Sell gift baskets. If you're good at photography, start a small business. Breed animals. Obviously, all these ideas are just ideas, right? Look into the background, whether it works in your area. Like I know for the animals, like which breeds are the best in your area, that sort of stuff, right? So be wise about it. But what can you do with that extra time that you have? Instead of coming home and watching Netflix, or coming home and sitting on your phone flicking through Instagram or whatever, or if you're self-employed, can you get your work done more focused during the day so that you have time for extra income? See, there's all these little, and I'm not talking about big changes. I'm just talking about little bitty tweaks here and there. And what this does is it creates your mind to start looking for those opportunities to make extra income. It tells a story in there how somebody always looked down on the street and would every day be able to pick up money. Now, I'm not suggesting we all go around looking at the ground. All I'm saying is that if we look for it, if we're always telling ourselves that we don't make enough money, guess what? We're not going to make enough money. But if we start telling ourselves, you know what, there's an opportunity out there, or, I got to find there is a way out there that I can make more income, then it'll show itself. Okay, so that's extra income. The other one is it was savings. Now a lot of people say, "Oh, we live within our means. There's no way we can save any more money." Well, the millionaire mentality. So it's a mentality. It's a mindset. Okay, it's not. That's why you have people winning. What do you call them? Lottos. Why you have people winning lottos and then studies show that they're bankrupt like 3 years later, right? It's not the money that keeps people rich. It's the mindset, a millionaire's mindset, that'll help you become rich and then stay rich. And again, we're not talking about getting rich so we can go around and look at me, buy fancy clothes and stuff. I bought this sweater. Should I tell people? It's a nice sweater, $15, Value Village. This tie was on sale. This shirt, I'm pretty sure Value Village too, right? You don't have to spend money. A lot of money to look good. I guess I just said I look good, don't I? Oops. Gotta stay humble. Okay, so millionaire mentality carefully considers each expenditure. If you are finding yourself telling yourself that you deserve something, walk the other way. Okay? Because that means you're trying to convince yourself that it's a good purchase. And chances are, even if you do deserve it, even if you work so hard, wouldn't you deserve more to feel good about yourself, that you are in control, that you have that extra money in the bank, that you chose not to eat that extra ice cream, or that you had that self-control? That's freedom. Knowing that you have used your agency to control yourself, that's power. I can't think of any other power that's more emboldening. So that's a big one for me. Number 2, the millionaire mentality believes that freedom and power are better than momentary pleasure. Kind of goes along the same lines, but buying that vehicle that is within my cash ability to pay gave me that freedom, and that's better than, although I was tempted sitting behind the wheel of some of those nicer cars that we could afford. We could afford a payment. We could actually probably even stretch and not even have much of a payment. But it would have been kind of, right? Whereas because we stayed well within our means, now we have extra to go do other things with or to invest. The millionaire mentality does not equate spending with happiness. Okay. If I had bought that other vehicle, would I have been happy? Maybe momentarily. Maybe when I'm driving down the road, I'm getting that dopamine hit by everybody looking at me. Maybe. But not when I'm looking at my bills. Not 6 months later when I need to get an oil change or, new tires, or, the gas bill ends up being higher than I thought it would be. Or when the car gets its first scrape, or the first whatever, right? Or the kids drop their first milkshake or whatever in the car and it starts smelling like rotten milk, right? So we got to think longer term. The millionaire mentality protects the nest egg, and that goes back to the story, right? Protect that nest egg. Protect it. Don't stay focused, hyper vigilant, focused on it, but protect it. Don't go spend it, right? And I think we've covered most of this. The bottom line, if you really want to keep it simple, what very wise people before me, this is what they've told me. Live within your means, meaning whatever I spend is less than what I'm bringing in. Invest for a rainy day. So for me, that's paying 10% into a rainy day fund. Invest for your future. For me, that's paying 10% into my future. And give back to society. For me, that's tithing. So really, if I'm doing all those things, I'm living on 60% of my income. Now, a lot of people will be like, oh, I can barely do 100. But what would happen if you either increase that income or decrease your expenditures? What things could you do without? For example, I have realized that my family has 5 different platforms for watching entertainment. I don't watch TV. So why do I have these? Yes, it is nice on a weekend when we go to watch something that we have lots of choices. But that's basically $50 a month so that I can have those choices. Now you might say, well, if you get rid of 2 or 3, that's only $20 a month. Well, $20 a month. Let's forget about interest for a second. But $20 a month, that's what, $240 a year, right? Yeah, that's a plane trip for me to go see my boys. That to me is worth it. Or let's say we took that money, 240, I'm trying to do the math really quick, and let's saved it for, say, 20 years. That's 48,000. If we were to throw, 20 years? So we're going to have probably at least two, maybe three doubling periods in there. So that's probably 70, 80. I'm doing it in my head, so this is not accurate. Do it in a financial calculator. But it's a lot more chunk of change than you would get looking at a TV screen, watching other people make money off of you. That's the bottom line. Are you in control, or are you giving other people control? And by taking control, I'm not saying that you're a miser, that you're like counting pennies, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making financial decisions period, really, but financial for today is what we're talking about. And doing so without emotion, that's the tough part. The emotion is, oh, that was a nice car. The not with emotion is, okay, what are the facts? What do I need? What gets me this need? And what is not necessary? And then for husbands, this is kind of tough sometimes. We want to buy something for our wives to say we love them, to show them that we're a good provider maybe. But ultimately, look yourself in the mirror and ask, are you buying this because of them? Because you want to show that you love them? Or are you buying this because of you? That you want you to look good, right? Self-thoughts. So, make good decisions. And when you don't, own up to it. Own up to it. Get help to figure things out so that you can move forward. Okay? There's no time, there's no point in hiding, because money doesn't sleep. Credit doesn't sleep. Interest rates don't sleep. And if you don't have interest working for you, chances are it's working against you. So, take control today, so that we can all be here on this planet to inspire. Take care, everybody.